The time has come.
We've worked so hard for this and put in so many hours to get to this moment.
It's finally here. The Game of Thrones finale. 9 p.m., HBO, see you there.
Seniors,
Congratulations and welcome to Class Day.
We are your senior class officers. I'm Julia.
I'm Yanis.
And I'm Rebecca. We've had a great year planning events as chairs of the Senior Class Council. Thanks to our dedicated team, we are able to have events that brought our class together during our final year at Yale.
Our classmates showed up to all our events ready to go. But let's not forget some things that actually happened behind the scenes.
Like, remember the time when Rebecca, our very fiscally responsible treasurer, bought 10 extra kegs for our Oktoberfest event solely for peace of mind. Even Dean Chun asked, "What are you gonna do with all this leftover beer?"
Don't worry, Dean Chun. We figured out a solution.
During our time here at Yale, we have witnessed many changes as a class.
Wait, let's unpack that.
On our very first day at Yale, we showed up as bright-eyed first years, fresh out of high school, fully prepared with our notebooks and our lanyards in hand. Fast forward to senior year, and our first day look was no backpack, no sleep, and checking the location of our classes right as we were walking to them.
We went from having Camp Yale friends to real friends. And while we lost Sasha Pup, we gained a new handsome Dan.
Our class finally broke the Harvard-Yale losing streak. Woo! We stormed both the Yale Bowl and Harvard Stadium and took selfies with President Salovey, who seemed to love beating Harvard even more than we did.
When we came in, we thought the 12 college challenge was hard. Guess what? The 14 college challenge is even harder.
As we reflect on our time here at Yale, we realize that there's some things we just probably won't miss. Like hearing residential colleges are a microcosm of the Yale community.
Or realizing you're having a very bad night when you're forced to move from Sterling to Bass Library at 11:45 p.m.
And then, you've got to go back to your twin XL bed, which is never fun, especially when you're 6'3".
I know I won't miss struggling to open every gate at Yale. Why are they so heavy?
And then there's always midterm season, which essentially means the entire semester.
While we won't miss the library shifts or the massive gates, there's so much of Yale we will miss.
Like the spontaneity of college and living a block away from your closest friends, who are the people that make the day-to-day moments really fun and are the reason why we love Yale.
Nowhere do I feel more connected to my class than Wednesdays at 1 a.m. when we all chant "Live In" on a prayer together.
We won't miss the days when the temperature actually gets above freezing and Yale looks like the brochure. We crawl out of hibernation, all sit on cross campus, and pretend to do work.
I will miss our Yale late nights, when we go to the buttery to grab a $1 quesadilla or sit in G-Hev eating a bacon, egg, and cheese with our friends.
We also appreciate the person we happen to meet through a class, club, or team who unexpectedly became one of our closest friends. I know I can say that about the two people right here with me on stage.
We are grateful that Yale allowed us to understand the people we want to be. In an open and accepting environment, we're able to express ourselves and share our own experiences.
Although at times Yale was challenging, we had family, friends, and faculty who helped us make it through. We'd like to take the time now to thank you all.
Today, we celebrate what we have achieved. Tomorrow, we look forward to new possibilities. Congratulations to us all. We should be so proud of ourselves for making it to this day. Here's to the class of 2019.
Hello, class of 2019.
I'm Shuyu.
And I'm Harold.
We are members of this year's Class A Planning Committee. You will meet all the rest of the members throughout this afternoon's ceremony, but for now, we have the honor of introducing our Class A speaker.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. So we have with us today an acclaimed writer, an inspiring global citizen whose words, teaching, and social activism have had an indelible impact on the diaspora and broader contemporary culture. She's known for her award-winning novels, nonfiction, her riveting TED Talks, and much more. She was born in Nigeria, where her father was a professor and her mother was the first female registrar. She studied medicine for a year at Nsukka, then left for the United States at the age of 19 to continue her education on a different path.
She graduated summa cum laude from Eastern Connecticut State University with a degree in communication and political science. She also has a master's degree in creative writing from Johns Hopkins University and a Master of Arts in African History from Yale. Her work has been translated into over 30 languages, and her novels have won prestigious prizes in literature. Her 2013 novel, Americana, won the U.S. National Book Critics Circle Award and was named one of the New York Times top 10 best books of 2013. In 2008, she received a MacArthur Genius Grant Fellowship, and in 2015, she was named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. So, in her literary and oratory work, she warns against the danger of a single story, the idea that people living in certain parts of the world all have one kind of experience, and she reminds us to always seek the truth. As a Nigerian American myself, I can say without a doubt that her work has inspired cross-generational communication about the history and tragedies that have shaped the lived experiences of millions. Through her writing, speeches, and activist work, she brings light to the many sacrifices that members of the diaspora, like my parents, make in hopes of a brighter future. Her narratives of love, grit, and diversity give a voice to the voiceless and power to those who have often been overlooked by history.
Today, with the utmost honor, we introduce to you our 2019 Yale Class A speaker,
Miss Chimamanda Adichie.
Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm just feeling the love. Congratulations, graduating class of 2019. So last year, the Class Day speaker was Hillary Rodham Clinton. This year, you got me. And so, well, really. And so I want to start by telling you how sorry I am. And by the way, considering the last 3 years, I imagine it must have been refreshing for last year's class to hear from a politician who is an actual adult. to hear from a person who is articulate, experienced, thoughtful, literate, measured, and with an adult's vocabulary. It's been 10 years since I was here in graduate school. I wasn't always happy here, for reasons having to do more with me than with Yale. So it wasn't Yale, it was me. But I wouldn't change any of it. It's good to be back, and to be reminded of spending hours in Atticus bookstore and getting dinner at the Indian restaurant that my husband and I loved, and attending seminars in Professor Thompson's house, which was full of objects that he collected in Central Africa in the 1960s. And there was also the slightly awkward seminar I took on African literature, in which my own novel was part of the curriculum. I just sat there and said nothing, and I wasn't sure what to do with my face. But most importantly, being here at Yale afforded me many opportunities to engage in that activity that is essential for a fiction writer, eavesdropping. I did it in the library, in the gym, by walking a little too close to people in the hallways. And for a writer, almost nothing is out of bounds if it leads to collecting material for fiction. And Yale, having such a wide range of interesting people, I mean, just look at your hats. The material I collected here was absolute gold. Thank you so much, Pastor. I'm very honored and very happy to be your Class Day speaker. Thank you for inviting me. I know you're all excited to be graduating, and while I congratulate you, I also want you to know that it only goes downhill from here. Well, no, not really. When I graduated from undergrad, I felt unmoored. The structure of expectations was gone. No more classes to attend, no more papers to write. And the world felt wide open, disorienting, dizzying. I was full of contradictions, and I was in a battle with myself about my contradictions because I did not know then that it is human and okay to have contradictions. I was full of uncertainty, and I did not know that confidence is a journey, a continuous journey, and not an absolute destination. And I want to tell you this now to save you years of figuring it out yourself. There are days when you will be bursting with certainty, and days when you will be flattened by doubts. And it helps a little to keep in mind how universal this is. There are so many things I said I would never do when I was younger, and I now do many of them. I would give you detailed examples, but I don't want to unnecessarily alarm you. The point is, be open to changing your mind. It is often a sign of growth. Be open to the possibility that you might be wrong. Ideology is a good thing, but if you find that you hew unquestioningly to every orthodoxy of the ideology you subscribe to, then maybe it's time for some agility in your thinking. A small shift, for example, a sign that shows that you know that there are complicated shades of gray everywhere. I would suggest, in general, that you marry being idealistic with being pragmatic. And it helps to think of Puritanism as too expensive, as something you cannot afford. So, politics is awful in all sorts of ways, but refusing to participate is not the answer. Sometimes you have to get in there to be able to walk towards changing it to what you want it to be. engage with the world as it is. Otherwise, you won't really get anything done. But as you do so, it is important to have as your guiding light a clear vision of what the world should be. I think of my writing as my vocation. It is what I am on earth to do. But there are people who know me not for my writing, but for my speaking about feminism. I did not set out to be a feminist icon, and I'm still hoping that somebody will make me a hat that says feminist icon. I happened to have a platform from my writing, and I happened to feel strongly about justice in general, but the equality of women in particular. And I began to use that platform to talk about what mattered to me. And it happened to resonate with people who already were thinking about the same things. It also happened to irritate quite a few people. I remember a man who spent a lot of time trying to explain to me why his wife always had to submit to him. I was a bit confused about why anybody would be so insistent on the idea that the rightful place for a fellow human being was a place of permanent subjugation. Why would a well-balanced person need another person to submit? The world is full of people like that man. Is it necessarily my responsibility to educate them? No. Do I want to? Yes. Why? Because I think it's worthwhile to give people, most people, the benefit of the doubt. Because I think it's worth trying to change a person's mind if that will lead to a greater human good. And because, full disclosure, I happen to have a mild case of a messiah complex. And I want to change a small slice of the world. So, will trying to get a man to see the full humanity of women mean that he might, for example, stop justifying domestic abuse? Maybe, maybe not. But I want to try. I see it as trying to walk towards making a small slice of the kind of world I want to live in. I have a dear friend who lives in Lagos. Her name is Bosse. She's an utterly brilliant and humane gynecologist, and she has a daughter who clearly inherited her mother's genes. This daughter grew up in Nigeria and was then sent to private secondary school in the UK. She excelled, and she was on top of her class in every subject. And so they were recently thinking about where she would go to university. And because I deeply admire the American liberal arts curriculum, I told her that I thought she would benefit from going to university in the US rather than the UK. Her response, in a very calm 16-year-old voice, was, "I don't want to go to America because I don't want to die." The starkness, the directness of her words threw me off for a moment. Obviously, she meant guns. Her mother later told me that she had been particularly scarred by the video of a white policeman shooting a black man in the back. There is a figurative Igbo expression for a certain kind of unease, a disruption, a troubledness. That expression is Ife Amaro Kwulu, and it translates literally to things are not standing well. The awkward beauty of this expression, things are not standing well, best captures my sense of America today. To say that things are falling apart or have fallen apart might sound as though one is susceptible to melodramatic exaggeration. But things are not standing well. Wherever you might be on the ideological spectrum, things are not standing well if fear is in the air that Americans breathe. I bring this up because I want to suggest that as you graduate in this time, that you ask yourself the question, what should America be? Should America be a country where fear is always an option for children in school, where a child can go to school and never come home because that child has been murdered by another child with a gun? Should America be a country where Black people live in fear of their lives because members of the police do not seem to think of them as full human beings? Should America be a country where women are in fear of not having full autonomy over their bodies? Is a country still a full democracy if fear is in the air its citizens breathe? Should America be a country of patriots, people inspired by love and pride? Or should it be a country of nationalists, people inspired by hatred of enemies, many of those enemies real and many more invented? What should America be? Conceptualize that America and then make the case for that America, not only in obvious ways, such as how you vote, but also in smaller ways, how you treat other people, how you think of other people, the things you refuse to condone, the people whose grievances you refuse to dismiss, the acts of kindness you do, the people you choose to listen to and to hear. And truly hearing people can often be the best way of showing them that they matter. So going by historical precedent, a Yale degree makes you more likely than the average graduate to become president, or a senator, or a Supreme Court judge. A Yale degree makes you more likely to become a person who, in different capacities, will be responsible for policies and actions that will affect the lives of millions of people. No pressure. By the way, this is proof, if we ever needed proof, of how fair America's unimpeachable meritocracy is. Not. The point, though, is that a Yale degree will open doors. There are people who will resent you for having a Yale degree, but there are many more people who will accord you the automatic assumption of competence. If your degree does end up propelling you to power, remember that if power were a jacket, it is most flattering on all body types when worn very lightly. If you end up working in a nonprofit, remember that the best charity is that which does not perpetuate itself. Never forget that human beings, actual human beings, with dreams and hopes and fears, with pride and favorite foods and things they dislike and like, are the focus of your charity. Numbers, statistics, language can sometimes make the real humanity of people invisible. And sometimes people you expect to be grateful for your charity will not be, at least not in the way you want or expect, because it can be complicated to be the recipient of charity. If your job involves traveling around the world, remember that local knowledge is always best. Yes, read the country reports written by the CIA, or whoever writes those reports, but place a higher value on local knowledge. Local newspapers, literature, the person who picks you up from the airport. And if you're one day enrobed in corporate power, and some of you here certainly will be, please hire women as executives and not just in human relations. Change corporate culture. Have an on-site daycare. Make paid family leave standard and ordinary. If you find yourself with power in the world of journalism, banish forever the practice of false equivalence. Journalism should be about the truth, not about balance. If you're reporting on the fact that climate change exists, you don't need to bring in a hack to show the other side, because there is no other side. And if you do become a journalist, please learn how to say, "I'm sorry." Journalism seems to be a profession whose practitioners have great difficulty in saying, "I'm sorry," without hedging or equivocating. And speaking of saying sorry, knowing how to say, "I'm sorry," and mean, "I'm sorry," will serve you well, no matter what course your life takes. And if you are one of those people whose tongues seem unable to form those words, "I'm sorry," there is hope. Practicing in front of a mirror helps. Don't change the subject. Don't pretend that nothing happened. Don't buy a gift and deflect. Don't ride it out in silence, hoping it will go away. Just say, "I'm sorry." A few times if necessary. And of course, it helps if you actually mean it. But please do not ever apologize for existing, or for taking up space in the world, or for having a well-considered opinion. And I say this particularly to women whose socialization teaches us, to shrink ourselves, as though our responsibility is never first to ourselves, but always to others. And we end up sometimes feeling guilty for wanting the things we want, for wanting to be our own selves first. The messages that society sends us can be conflicting. That tension between telling you to value yourself, that you matter, and then that other message that tells you to put other people first and to serve. It is possible, it is necessary that you find a balance between the two, but you will have to figure it out yourself. But if I can offer a useful guiding principle, it is this: you do not have to make room in your life for people who wish you harm. So one enduring lesson I learned here at Yale is always to look at primary sources first. And I've held on to that lesson. It is, I think, a useful lesson, especially in this age of easy outrage, when so many people are quick to react to an isolated quote or sometimes received second or third hand. So I once read a book review, and based on that review, I decided not to read the book because it didn't sound like my sort of thing. Many years later, I read the book because I was at a writing retreat, and it was sitting there on a shelf, and I thought I would just read one page, and then I couldn't stop. I loved it. And I could not believe how that reviewer could have so mischaracterized that book. So if you choose to participate in the cult of the outrage of the day on social media, and if you're quick to jump in with your blistering take, and I understand that the adrenaline boost can be addictive. But before you jump in the fray, look at primary sources first. And remember that context is always queen. This is also, I think, a good way of testing your own beliefs. Take a little time to find out what was actually said or done. And if you have context, then maybe, you might just start to question what you thought you knew. Having said that, I do sometimes worry that American education has created a class of brilliant, talented people, but people who are nonetheless afraid to say the wrong thing, even in ostensibly safe spaces. If the world inside of college was safe, then you should know that the world outside of college is not. And I urge you always, always to honor the doubts that you have, honor the questions that you have. Don't silence yourself. So I want to tell you about a conversation that happened among a group of people recently. People who were acquaintances, if not friends, but who all generally were on the same side. And I might or might not have been eavesdropping on their conversation. So they were talking about a politician, and one of them said that the politician was a racist because that politician supported school choice. Another one then asked, tentatively, but how? And the response from everyone else in this group was a lot of eye-rolling, a lot of sneering. And then, finally, one person gave a treatise on how supporting this politician was just supporting racism. At the end, nobody had explained why supporting school choice was horrible. And there is a valid argument to be made for that position. But this young person was left not knowing what that argument was, and perhaps also left feeling heavier with several layers of shame. I worry that the spaces occupied by the educated in this country have become places where curiosity is considered passé. It is now an environment where everyone is already supposed to know, supposed to get it, and those who don't are seen as morally lacking. If there is a lesson here, it is that you should always remember that a self-righteous sneer is not an argument. Don't be that person who attacks or demeans because you are unable to convince. I know that the idea of bringing receipts is a thing in your generation. It would have been nice if someone in that group had brought receipts. Make the argument, clarify, explain, do the work, cite statistics if you need to, and bring the damned receipts. When I started out writing, I was doing what I loved, what gave me the greatest joy, and I hoped also to be read. And today I feel grateful to be read, to be taken seriously, to be here. My work is very important to me. It's central to my life. But the moments of greatest joy for me are not necessarily those that have to do with my success. And so, please nurture your ambitions, seek to be successful, but keep in mind that there are hollows that success will not fill. And yes, this is where I talk about love. I have a Swiss friend who once lived in DC, but now lives in Zurich. And I asked him what he had made of America when he lived here. And he said, Americans don't have friends because they're too busy working. He meant, I think, people who live in America, whether citizens or not. And so I urge you, class of 2019, to prove him wrong. Have friends, many friends, or just one friend. Hold your family close. And family doesn't necessarily mean those to whom you're related by blood or by social institution. Hold your friends close. Stand up for your loved ones. Tell the people you love that you love them. Tell them often. Find reasons to laugh. Gravitate towards people with whom you never feel that pressure to perform or to be what you're not. One of the tenets I try to live by is never admire quietly. If I admire something about someone, I let them know. We do not always recognize what is beautiful in ourselves, in our spirits, until somebody has pointed it out to us. And remember that people will hardly ever forget small acts of kindness. I remember once during a public event, I was exhausted, I was a little grumpy. Actually, I was very grumpy. And I was surrounded by people, none of whom seemed to see my exhaustion. And then my friend Chinaku, who was there, sort of looked at me and said, "She's tired." And I almost burst into tears because I felt so wonderfully seen. Be kind. Paying attention is one of the most beautiful acts of kindness. The people you will come across in your life will not forget when you're kind, and they will not forget when you're unkind. I wish you well as you go out into the world. I wish you courage. I wish you joy. And on a final note, as you navigate the world, it might be helpful from time to time to forget that you went to Yale. Congratulations.
On behalf of Yale College, I wanted to thank you again for being the primary source of your wisdom, intellect, and inspiration. Thank you for your Messiah spirit. You are read, you are heard, you are seen, you are loved. Thank you. Okay, so we have a little exercise to do here with all the seniors. But first, I want to ask the following students to come up to the seats over here in the front row, right in the baking sun. So please come up when I call your name. Jude Alraman Alawa of Brantford College. Hannah Lawrence of Davenport College. Andrea Masterson of Jonathan Edwards College. Lily Murfakre of Davenport College. Irene Orbe of Jonathan Edwards College. A.K. Payne of Berkeley College. Alana Pike of Timothy Dwight College. Devin Christine Rigsby of Pearson College. And Simon Whiteman of Trumbull College. All right, so seniors, we're going to do a little dress rehearsal for tomorrow, the main commencement event here. I'll be up on this stage where I'll be kind of standing right there, facing President Salovey, and I will be presenting you all to him so that you can receive your degrees. I'll be saying a few words. The last two sentences of my request are going to be like this. They have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. So when you hear these words, confer upon them these degrees, that's when you want to show the world how excited you are to be graduating. Okay, so you just do your thing, shout out as loud as you can. So we're going to practice, and again, we're going to be with all the professional schools, parents, families, on TV and everything like that, so let's have a good practice here. So, again, at the end of these degrees, they have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. Okay, I didn't think so. We'll try again. I mean, like these other professional schools, they got confetti going, and they're just a lot more boisterous. So I think we're going to have to try this again. One last time. Again, I'm facing President Salovey, and I'll say they have been recommended by the faculty of Yale College and approved by the corporation. I now ask you, by your official act, to confer upon them these degrees. Okay, that's much better. Yeah, standing up, everything, all that, wave your flags. We'll look forward to it tomorrow. Great.
Thank you, Brother Chun. Will varsity athletes Andrea Masterson and Simon Whiteman, captains of the cross country and baseball teams, please come to the podium? Andrea, you will go down in the books as one of the all-time greats in Yale women's cross country. You are the Ivy League heptagonal cross country individual champion for 2018. A three-time NCAA qualifier, a two-time NCAA all-region honors recipient, and a two-time HYP cross country individual champion. In track and field, you have written your way onto the all-time list in 4 events. Andrea, you have accomplished all of this in your sport at the same time you are majoring in architecture. As legend has it, one of the most time-consuming majors at Yale. It takes a special person to do that. We wish you luck on Thursday as you will race at the NCAA first rounds in Jacksonville, Florida, to qualify for the NCAA finals. For your superb accomplishments as an athlete, your success in the classroom, and your leadership, and for exemplifying in yourself the commitment, the hard work, and excellence of so many varsity athletes at Yale. Yale takes great pride in presenting you one of the most distinguished runners in Yale women's cross country history with with the Nellie P. Elliott Award. Simon, you as well have been the captain of your team, a leader to whom others and I look. In coming to Yale, you moved from second base to shortstop, and with very hard work became what your head coach says is the best shortstop he has ever had in 27 years at Yale. Defensively, your play at shortstop helped Yale lead all Division I baseball in double plays per game in 2019, and the 2018 team set an all-time Division I record for field percentage. As a hitter, you are at the top of the baseball lineup. Incredibly, you graduate with the second most hits, 213, and stolen bases, 71, in the entire 154 years of Yale baseball history. This and your teammates' effort led to 2 Ivy League championships. Sports media outlets predicts you to be a professional baseball player and drafted this June. Simon, you have done all of this while, guess what? Winning the Delaney Kipeth Award for the highest grade point average of any graduating senior varsity student athlete, with a 3.97 GPA in chemical engineering. Your lowest grade in 7 semesters with an A- in freshman lab. I bet that professor feels bad. In your junior year, you were the co-recipient of one of Yale's most prestigious prizes for an undergraduate, the Francis Gordon Brown Prize, an award also won by former Yale baseball great, U.S. President George H.W. Bush. For your incredible performance on the field and in the classroom, always wearing a tie in class, and for knocking it out of the park in both areas, Yale takes enormous pride in awarding you the William Neely Mallory Award for 2019. Congratulations to the both of you and to the senior class of 2019.
Alana Pike, will you please come to the stage? And Jonathan Salazar, will you please join Alana? The Nakanishi Prize is awarded to 2 graduating seniors who, while maintaining high academic achievement, have provided exemplary leadership in enhancing race or ethnic relations at Yale College. This year's prizes are awarded to Alana Pike of Timothy Dwight College and Jonathan Salazar of Pauli Murray College. Alana Pike, a molecular, cellular, and developmental biology major, hailing from the Mohawk Nation at Akwesasne, has been described as a fearless leader of the Native community known for her grace, dignity, and strength. She has served as TD's Big Sib coordinator, as a member of the Student Advisory Committee to the Center for the Study of Race, Indigeneity, and Transnational Migration, and as a peer liaison for the Native American Cultural Center community. As president and vice president of the Association of Native Americans at Yale, She has devoted herself to supporting Indigenous Peoples' Day celebrations and the Ivy Native Conference on Indigenous Feminisms, reestablishing the Ine Powwow, and advocating for water protectors at Standing Rock. Next year, she will be serving as a research scholar in the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences at Harvard as she prepares to apply to doctoral programs. For her remarkable service and leadership, Yale College is honored to award the Nakanishi Prize to Alana Pike. Jonathan Salazar, an ethnicity, race, and migration major, has been described as a leader, friend, and scholar. Arriving at Yale as a second-year student with an acute understanding of what it was like to be new at Yale and seeking connection, Jonathan has had an outsized impact in the many roles he has played. He has served as a peer liaison for La Casa Cultural, as a member of Ballet Folklorico, Mecha, and La Casa's Senior Events Committee, and as one of the inaugural first-generation low-income student ambassadors. This year, he served as head first-year counselor for Pauli Murray College. In all these roles, he has dedicated himself to making everyone feel welcome, connected, and included. Following graduation, Jonathan will be returning to New Mexico to work as a paralegal while preparing for graduate school. For his extraordinary service and leadership, Yale College is honored to award the Nakanishi Prize to Jonathan Salazar. Jude Alawa, will you please come up to the stage? The James Andrew Haas Prize is awarded annually to that member of the senior class in Yale College whose breadth of intellectual achievement, strength of character, and fundamental humanity shall be adjudged by the faculty to have provided leadership for his or her fellow students, inspiring in them a love of learning and concern for others. This year, the Haas Prize is awarded to Jude Alharam Alawa of Brantford College. Jude Alawa graduates with distinction in the Global Affairs major, with a second major in Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology, and as a Global Health Studies scholar. Jude is deeply committed to providing health care to vulnerable communities. He is founder and director of Saha Wa Salam, a nonprofit organization that provides humanitarian assistance to Syrian refugees across the Middle East. As president of the Yale Rotaract Club, he has supported refugee populations and local underserved residents. In New Haven, he has volunteered his time at the Haven Free Clinic, providing health services to uninsured patients and teaching and tutoring students in local schools. As a scholar, Jude already has a list of publications with articles in print and forthcoming on cancer treatment in displaced populations, refugee health, and community health care. He has received multiple awards and fellowships in support of his research and advocacy, including the Fulbright Scholarship and the Fox International Fellowship. Next year, he will begin a Master's of Public Health at Cambridge University. For his dedication to public service at home and abroad, Yale College is proud to bestow the James Andrew Haas Memorial Prize upon Jude Ahram Alawa.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we'll be introducing some Class Day traditions.
Beginning in 1851, each graduating class has laid an ivy plant somewhere on Yale's campus, symbolizing the enduring nature of the friendships made in the past 4 years. This year, our class ivy will be placed right outside of Phelps Gate, underneath a stone carving of the class of the year of 2019. For future generations who walk through Phelps Gate and enter Yale College, the ivy and the stone will be symbols of the resilience and strength that our class found here.
Now, in the bag underneath your chair, you'll find a clay pipe and some bubbles. The pipe is known as the church warden pipe, and it's been given to graduating seniors since 1869. Needless to say, if this were an 1869 class day, things would look a little different. We'd all be sitting in a big circle wearing tweed jackets and smoking tobacco out of these pipes. Now we sit together on old campus, wear funny hats, and blow bubbles. Still, the tradition of the church warden pipe has endured for nearly 150 years.
A lot of time has passed, and Yale no longer looks the way it once did. The Yaleys of now don't look like the Yaleys of the 1800s. But the planting of the ivy and the church warden pipe are two traditions that unite generations of Yale graduates.
To speak more about change at Yale in all its forms, it is my pleasure to introduce Larry Fulton and his class reflection, How to Spot a Yalie.
Good afternoon. Doesn't look like I have any notes up here. Where's Mohammed at? Hey! That's my friend Mohammed. I'm gonna out him for a second. He thinks that he can spot a Yalie anywhere. He says, I saw the whiffin' poofs in Beijing. Didn't you say that? Yeah, you did. You did. Makes me wonder, how did he know that it was the woofs? How did he know that it was the whiffs? You know, maybe it was as easy as asking someone their residential college. What was their favorite sandwich at Alpha Delta? Did they take a class called The Good Life and then get credit for it? Or is it something else entirely that binds Yaleys together? But what is that something? And what does it have to do not just with everyone who's here in the audience today, but with the thousands of Yaleys who have occupied this university before us? There's been a lot of change at Yale even in our 4 years. 2 new residential colleges, Hopper. Freshmen are now first years. Sorry, where are you? Sorry, JE sucks. Freshmen are now first years. Masters are heads of college. Next year, anyone can live in gender-neutral housing if they so choose, and audition for the whiffin' poofs. But this really comes as no surprise. I mean, Yale has always been a place that's embraced sharp differences in opinion, where big ideas have clashed. We are, after all, the school of John Ashcroft and John Kerry, Bill Buckley and Bill Coffin. We may have been right or wrong, left or right, but we most certainly have always been engaged, and it is through this clash, this push of ideas against each other at Yale that change has been born. At the height of the Great Depression, the SAT was established to provide scholarships such that more low-income students could attend universities like Yale. Then on campus, Yale's student body started to challenge its workers, started to challenge the university to pay its workers more, while alumni wrote letters opposing pointless new law school courses in economics and policy. 30 years later, in 1969, Yale admitted its first class of women. It was that same year that this campus erupted as a battleground of the civil rights movement. For a year, Black Panthers Bobby Seale and Erica Huggins stood trial in New Haven. Thousands of protesters flooded the green. And yet Yale President Kingman Brewster insisted on opening campus. Dining halls provided meals, and students provided housing to people who had come to speak their truth. Then 4 years ago, Yale admitted the class of 2019, its most diverse class of students ever. And the Times tried to act like we were Yale's first rodeo. I don't think so. I think that there has always been disagreement and debate here. What binds us as Yaleys isn't the specific controversies. It's the training and analytical thinking, the instruction to value empathy and emotional intelligence and difference in opinion. It's learning from watching our friends in scholarship and the realms of music, art, theater, architecture, that not everything that counts can be counted, while not all that can be counted really counts. And more than that, there is an ethos here, a spirit of acknowledgement among all those who may disagree. Cliche as it may be, Yaleys strive to engage in the world and to make a difference. It's simply in the air here. For me, that's Yale. This weird, rowdy bunch of kids from all over the world, together in one place, committed to lux et veritas and to each other, who believe that they can do anything. In 1939, Yaleys, rich and poor, redefined the role of government. 1969, Yaleys, male and female of all colors, held this country's legal system accountable. In 2019 now, we are inseparable isolationists, undocumented model citizens, spiritual atheists, stoic revolutionaries, tomboyish guys, presidential pre-meds, and it's anyone's guess how out of our 100 contradictions, legacy will manifest. One thing is certain. Yale is not naive in choosing a class. When this place has chosen to open its doors to more of us, to new types and new breeds, history has been made. And this time around, they chose us. They chose us to engineer a solution to climate change, to keep destructive weapons out of the wrong hands. They chose us to build an inclusive world in which kids don't have to come to a place like Yale for a fair chance and an equal shot. So with all of that, I repeated my question to Mohammed. I asked, how could you spot the Whiffenpoofs in Beijing? And his answer was, well, Larry, they walk around in bow ties. So, fair enough. Fair enough. Some of us are pretty easy to spot from the outside, especially today. I think today is about what's in here. Speaking of, Dean Chun, President Salave, esteemed faculty and staff, loved ones, family members, thank you for everything. You challenged us, certainly, but allowed us to do the same. Throughout, you were firm in your values, telling us that we'd make it here. Through the tears, the anxieties, the science, and the writing credits, today is proof that together we could make it. And to my fellow graduates and friends in the class of 2019, we were accompanied here by a wave of change. Then, we elected an alder. We founded Every Vote Counts. We proved that some people do have superpowers. And we researched the world over. Because like Yaleys from many generations, we don't simply study history. You spot a Yalee at the edge of history, making a difference, pushing the boundaries, and leaving a legacy. Here's to you, class of 2019, for the past 4 years and for the lifetime commitment to service and to humanity that we will carry with us out into the broader world. Thank you, and congratulations.
So here's how to spot a Yalie. A Yalie is a student who is more erudite and eloquent than their dean. Great job. Lily Sparrow Murfakre, will you please come up to the stage? The Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize for the senior majoring in the humanities who ranks highest in scholarship is awarded this year to Lily Sparrow Murfakre of Davenport College. Lily is a fiercely proud West Virginian and head first-year counselor in Davenport College. Balancing a double major in the history of science, medicine, and public health, and molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, she was elected to Phi Beta Kappa in her senior year and graduates summa cum laude with distinction in both her majors. Even as a first-year student, Lily's instructors commented on her unusual sensitivity in dealing with challenging material. She brought that same sensitivity to bear on her senior essay, which explores the history of coal company physicians in Central Appalachia. She is also the recipient of the Why Work Award in recognition of her outstanding contributions as an undergraduate employee. In recognition of her extraordinary achievements, Yale College is proud to award the Warren Memorial High Scholarship Prize this year to Lily Sparrow Murfakre. Hannah Lawrence, will you please come up to the stage? The Russell Henry Chittenden Prize is awarded annually for the senior majoring in the natural sciences or in mathematics who ranks highest in scholarship. This year's prize is awarded to Hannah Louise Lawrence of Davenport College. Hannah has distinguished herself as a double major in applied mathematics and computer science. Elected to Phi Beta Kappa in her junior year, Hannah graduates summa cum laude with distinction in both her majors. In a field that seldom changes answer keys, Hannah's senior project advisor in applied mathematics states that she offered a solution that is better than what is known for this problem. Hannah has balanced her extraordinary performance in the classroom with her passion for music, playing as a devoted member of the Yale Symphony Orchestra's first violin section. Hannah has also contributed her talents as a member of the Yale College Student Advisory Committee on Scientific and Quantitative Reasoning, advising the Yale College Dean's Office on matters related to undergraduate education. In recognition of her commitment to academic excellence, Yale College proudly awards the Russell Henry Chittenden Prize to Hannah Louise Lawrence. Aren Obey and A.K. Payne, can you please come up to the stage? The Louis Sudler Prizes for excellence in the performing and creative arts are awarded to two outstanding seniors. Aren Orbay is a writer whose work shows intellectual rigor, emotional depth, and stylistic grace. While double majoring in computer science and English with a concentration in creative nonfiction, Aren has contributed 18 essays and profiles to The New Yorker, with topics ranging from personal history to contemporary photography to women's gymnastics. With Courage and Beauty, his creative thesis, the basis of a planned book-length memoir, addressed the impact of a devastating family tragedy and entailed travel to Ankara, Turkey, the reading of hundreds of pages of depositions, legal transcripts and police reports, and profound self-examination. Aren graduates magna cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa, and with distinction in both of his majors. He will pursue graduate studies in modern Middle Eastern studies at Oxford next year as a Rhodes Scholar. Alexis A.K. Payne is an accomplished dramatist with an astonishing promise. A double major in African American Studies and English, she graduates with distinction in both and with a concentration in playwriting. In works produced at the Yale Dramat and the Yale Playwrights Festival, A.K. has trained her fierce moral vision and finely tuned ear on the fraught and authentic lives of people in real places and in real situations, laying bare the urgent poetry of voices that, as she movingly insists, need to be heard. Her plays animate the experiences and aspirations of people of color in American history, and her mentors and professors note her work's deep compassion, historical research, and political urgency. In the fall, AK begins the MFA program in playwriting at the Yale School of Drama. For her exceptional accomplishments on the page and stage, and for her bright future ahead, Yale College is honored to award the Louis Sudler Prize for Excellence in the Performing and Creative Arts to A.K. Payne. Devin Rigsby of Pearson College, will you please come up to the stage? The Arthur Twining Hadley Prize, which honors the memory of the man who served as president of Yale from 1899 to 1921, is awarded annually to the senior in Yale College majoring in the social sciences who ranks highest in scholarship. The Alpheus Henry Snow Prize is awarded to that senior who, through the combination of intellectual achievement, character, and personality, shall be adjudged by the faculty to have done the most for Yale by inspiring in his or her classmates an admiration and love for the best traditions of high scholarship. This year, both the Hadley and the Snow Prize are awarded to Devin Christine Rigsby of Pearson College. Elected to Phi Beta Kappa in her junior year, Devin Rigsby graduates summa cum laude with distinction in her major, Global Affairs. Devin has been deeply involved in research and leadership in global affairs and sciences. She has been a U.S. Department of Education Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellow for Arabic and the Middle East, as well as a Fellow for the Peace and Dialogue Leadership Initiative. She has also served as a legislative intern for the state of Illinois and as an intern in the Egyptian Consulate of Chicago. And as an extension of her work in the sciences, Devin has been a research assistant in the Yale University School of Medicine, Department of Surgery and Surgical Critical Care. Devin brings the same rigor and excellence to the leadership roles she has held as president of Yale's Phi Beta Kappa chapter and as an elected representative of the Yale College Council since the fall of 2015, filling the role of academic policy director and chief of staff. Taken together, her accomplishments and her fields of scholarship show extraordinary promise as she prepares for a life of service in global health policy and refugee health care in the Arab world. In recognition of her contributions to her fields of scholarship, her love of learning, and her dedication to the common good, Yale College is proud to award both the Alpheus Henry Snow Prize and the Arthur Twining Hadley Prize to Devin Christine Rigsby.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monsi.
And I'm Annalise, and we're two members of the Class Day Committee. Before introducing the next speakers, we'd like to take a moment to share two other Class Day traditions.
First, we wanted to introduce you all to a very important tradition that you will see tomorrow during commencement. During the commencement procession, the recipients of the top 5 academic prizes that were just awarded by Dean Chun carry an official flag or banner.
The winners of the Warren Memorial Prize, Russell Henry Chittenden Prize, Arthur Twining Hadley Prize, Sudler Prize, and Alpheus Henry Snow Prize carry the American flag, Connecticut flag, Yale College banner, President's banner, and Yale University banner, respectively.
Second, we'd like to introduce you all to a very special item that you will get to take home with you. Seniors, in your Class Day bags is a booklet that contains reflections, works of art, and poetry that capture our shared Yale experience. We call this the 2019 Class Anthology. These pieces were created by students, administrators, and members of the faculty who wish to share insights regarding our class. Our team selected pieces that we found to be exceptionally representative of our times here as students, both the happy experiences and the more challenging ones.
As the anthology team, we went into this project with the understanding that there's no such thing as a singular Yale experience. We put together this collection, which encompasses a variety of perspectives, and we hope that you'll take the time to read through it and reflect on your own 4 years here. You might be surprised at the themes that tie us together.
This year, we've also included several blank pages at the back of the anthology. Feel free to use this space for notes, your own reflections, or classmates' signatures.
Our only request is that you refrain from signing hags. Let's leave that in high school.
Now, it's our pleasure to introduce the next student's speech, which we promise will be significantly funnier than any jokes we just tried to make.
Each year, the Class Day team selects one or more students to provide a lighthearted reflection on our Yale experience. This year's speaker are Rafi Donatich and John Rosenbluth. Their speech is entitled Vows to the Class of 2019.
Please join us in welcoming them to the podium.
President Salovey, Dean Chun, beloved friends and families, thank you for being with us here today. And to the class of 2019,
you did that.
You did the heck out of that.
Okay, papers were written.
P-sets were turned in.
A little late.
And you didn't forget your advisor's last name at your Mellon Forum.
Hey, you in the back. I hope you're ready for the Pulitzer Prize in radio journalism coming at you in the next 10 to 12 years.
You in the front, boom, founder and CEO of the next big fair trade CBD cosmetics brand.
Sitting in front of us today is the next generation of prolific writers and thinkers.
Captains of industry, robber barons.
You've all achieved so much, and we're so proud to call you our classmates and our friends.
But if I'm not mistaken, there's a bit of an elephant in the quad, if you will.
Okay, John, you do know the expression is elephant in the room.
Rafi, I know. I'm just trying to adapt that idiom to campus life. God!
Okay, anyways, I'm just gonna sort of take a moment to embrace radical vulnerability right now, you know, okay? It's 2019 after all, our graduating year, and I'm just gonna say it. Romantically, I'm unfulfilled.
4 years of dating at Yale have been excruciatingly painful.
It has been, honestly, the military-industrial complex of romance.
Nobody knows how it works. Somebody is getting so freaking rich, and somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna get hurt.
It's dating in the digital age.
The emotional apparatus of the class of 2019 has been blown apart by nuclear-grade weaponry.
And at an institution like Yale that is so focused on success, we just want to take a second to acknowledge some of our failures.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been stood up by a Tinder date at Wesleyan because she was preparing her fake dead hermit crab for a fake burial. Yes, this actually happened, and yes, I'm still upset about it.
We've all had a crush on a TF. I don't know, I'm not thinking about anyone specifically in this particular moment, but maybe in the contemporary art history class we took sophomore spring, in which we accidentally and confidently said, "I love you" to them at the end of section.
Oh, did they say it back?
Yeah, we're actually moving to Brooklyn together after graduation.
OMG, seriously?
Obviously not.
I'm so sorry.
And you know what? I also want to highlight a dynamic that we all missed the boat on our personal librarians, right? Like, yeah. They were the one person at this university we could count on to respond to us in a productive and healthy way.
Actually, my personal librarian ghosted me.
Are you serious?
I told her that Orbis Advanced Search was anything but an intuitive, user-friendly, comprehensive database, and she refused to speak to me again.
You know, this conversation is really opening up a deep well of rejection, frustration, personal pain.
Honestly, same. Do you remember our very first week on campus?
Camp Yale?
More like Camp Fail, am I right?
We'll workshop that. Yeah.
Anyway, sue me, but I was unpleasantly surprised when I learned that walking onto the football team didn't mean I could just simply walk onto the field and be welcomed by a brotherhood of strong, virile, and playful men.
Yeah, I think we all realize that Yale is guilty of some pretty false advertising. We arrive on move-in day equipped with our twin XL sheets, ready to take risks and explore all of the amazing opportunities we were promised.
Little did we know that to work in a college buttery, you have to have earned a Michelin star. And I'm just like, I know how to put a dino nugget in a microwave.
Yeah, to get accepted into Professor Ann Fadiman's illustrious writing seminar, Writing About Oneself, you have to have literally written Moby Dick. And because the class is on memoir, you have to have been a sperm whale.
And speaking of whales, in high school, we were big fish in small ponds. Then we came to Yale and we figured out that we were actually small fish on a really big football team.
I'll say it, being gainfully enrolled at this university can be stressful.
And the way Yaleys deal with stress is honestly kind of unhinged.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for us all to recognize naked parties as one of the most bizarre, high-maintenance, not low-key traditions in the history of human traditions.
Hi, it's John from Daily Themes. I'm not wearing any clothes either. How are you? I'm incredibly anxious.
We are aware that there are parents in the audience.
We are also aware that some of you may have met at Yale.
And we hate that.
Yeah. Really not cool, guys.
The expectation of finding your spouse at Yale is way too much pressure and not the point.
I'm trying to write a 5 to 8 pager on inflation in the Weimar Republic, all right? I can't be bothered to think about raising a family.
Yeah, I'm just trying to intentionally and thoughtfully utilize my Durfee swipe. I am in absolutely no place to get married.
Some of us will end up marrying someone in our Froco group.
Others of us will not.
Because, seriously, college is weird. They throw us onto the 5th floor of L-Dub. There it is. There it is. And now all of a sudden we have to wear flip-flops in the shower for legitimate health concerns. And we're expected to find our soulmates.
And my dean is seriously trying to tell me that that doesn't fulfill my social science distributional requirement.
Raffi is credit deficient and will be returning in the fall.
Yeah. That is not incorrect.
Well, I think we can all safely say that we gave dating in the digital age the old college try.
Do you guys get it? Because we're all graduating from college right now.
That was a play on words based on the situation.
But can I get real for a second?
Yeah, do it.
Even though college has not yielded me my life partner, I am graduating right now with some practice taking care of the people I love.
Yeah, I mean, talk about in sickness and in health. You should have seen my roommate go full Grey's Anatomy when I got streptococcal pharyngitis.
You mean strep throat?
Yeah, that's what I said, streptococcal pharyngitis.
Okay, although we're leaving campus and dispersing all over the world, the bottom line is, till death do us part.
Yale class of 2019? This is pretty difficult for us to communicate, but...
We've actually had feelings for you for kind of a long time. We didn't want to say anything in case it, interfered with this amazing friendship thing we've got going.
But there's no point pretending right now. You're the one that got away.
Do you want to get a meal?
Or go to the UAG on Saturday morning.
We actually kind of have incredible chemistry.
I feel like this is getting kind of serious.
Are we exclusive, or...?
Do you want to meet my parents? They'll pay for dinner.
I think we should move in together.
Let's start with a beta fish, and then we can consider getting a dog.
I just feel like you're not listening to me.
I'm not willing to give up on us.
I can't hold this in any longer. Will you marry me?
I love you more now than I've ever loved you before.
You look so beautiful in white.
I can't believe we're having twins.
Yale will name them Benjamin and Franklin.
2019, I wouldn't want to grow old with anyone else.
And I wouldn't want to graduate with anyone else.
Here's to the class of 2019. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Hello, class of 2019. I'm Sunny Stevens.
I'm Maya Rodriguez.
And I'm Nick Gerard. We would like to share one final set of Class Day traditions and then introduce our final student speaker. The class reflections are legacies of days when Yale students delivered formal academic speeches during the ceremony. Today, we carry on this tradition with two short sets of remarks about the Yale experience that you heard from Larry Fulton, Rafi Donatich, and John Rosenbluth. Speakers audition before the Class Day committee and are selected based on how their pieces reflect our 4 years. Speeches that show our resilience and grit, but also that show our ability to have fun. Alongside these reflections, the class history has taken many forms over the years to tell the story of our time at Yale. In keeping up with modern technology and with the intent to provide as much student input into the class history as possible, during the Singing of Bright College Years, you will see a curation of photos that the class of 2019 has submitted to be displayed before us.
Bright College Years was written in 1881 by Henry Durand and has been the unofficial alma mater of Yale since. Sung at reunions, football games, and class day, it remains a symbol of Yale's traditions and long, long history. On the last lines of our song, we raise our handkerchiefs. If you lost yours from freshman year, Yale Alumni Association has generously provided new ones and waved them along as years of graduating classes have before us, singing, "For God, for country, and for Yale."
The original Ivy Ode for the class of 1852, composed in Latin Sapphic stanzas, described a symbolic connection between the growth of the ivy vine and the flourishing of the graduating class. Latin verse has given way to an original spoken word or lyrical performance by a member of the graduating class, but the purpose remains the same. The long-forgotten second verse of Bright College Years describes how, just as the ivy twines around the oak, so too are our hearts bound to Yale by ties of love. The Ivy Ode is a message of resilience and flourishing, a celebration of who we have been at Yale and the lifetime ahead as graduates of this university. The 2019 Ivy Ode, entitled All Our Names, is written and will be delivered by Ashia Ajani. Bright College Years will immediately follow. Please welcome Ashia.
The first time we walked on this campus, the gates cried open and welcomed our eager smiles, youthful exuberance breathing life into these archaic walls. Many of us perfected our elevator pitches during foot or cultural connections. Some combed through Quinnipiac soil during harvest, learned how to say welcome in 5 different languages during OIS, focused on who makes New Haven great. And when we all came for orientation, the world melted into an oasis unfamiliar to many. A voice said, "This can be your home too," and we readily accepted. And this is no easy task, home building. This creation will ask you to bare your soul, to view yourself in new ways unexplored and unimaginable, and we rose to the task. Someone put flowers in your hair during spring fling and told you you were beautiful. Finally, you had a professor who looked like you, who reminded you why you came to this campus. You won a mock trial tournament. You got your heart broken. You wrote an angry love poem. You finally told off that one arrogant person in seminar. You were unwittingly that one arrogant person in seminar. You shed a dead name and honored the right version of yourself with correct pronouns and a new, vibrant shade of lipstick. You helped put on a drag show. You watched too many movies in one sitting and debated with your suite mates whether or not Zootopia was an allegory for the police state into the slanted hours of the night, all while smiling and falling deeper in love with a place so seemingly unfamiliar. How the years asked us to consider ourselves. What has changed since those first days? How our eyes and hearts have softened, how we have grown into even better versions of ourselves. And that does not come without this responsibility to one another. What will we make of ourselves beyond these bright college years? In her poem, The Summer Day, the late American poet Mary Oliver takes the time to observe and reflect, ponders the grasshopper, asks who made her. In this poem, Oliver asks what we plan to do with our one wild and precious life. Oliver does not demand that we bleed ourselves dry searching for adventure, but that we marvel at the many steps we have taken to get here and the ones that will come after. Class of 2019, will you let this world know your name in all of its iterations? Will you take time to ponder the grasshopper? When the evils of this world tempt us into apathy and ignorance, will you remember the love that you found here? The love that made you ask more and demanded that you never give up this fight. The love born from newness, through laughter, through song, through chant and protest and resilience. What love have you carried from all of your different homes to this new northeastern one? On that one night, you know the one, where your hope had faded into almost nothing and the dust asked more of you than you could bear. A pretty girl brought you boba and said, "Do not go quietly." Think of the dawn and all the hands that pushed you towards this moment. Think of the ways we were kind not only to others, but to ourselves. We, carriers of light and truth, leave our mark wherever we go. When the gates close and our time here has drawn its last breath, what will this campus remember you by?
Congratulations, everyone.
Class day is now completed.
Made it. Thank you so much for coming and have a wonderful evening.